I've seen this type of video so many times before, and that's a good thing. The easier it is for people to join the game of Airsoft, the better. No matter if that's younger or older players. And I have my own list of tips and points that I'd like to get out there to make things even easier than they are already. I want to leave people with the least amount of questions as possible when they're looking to get into Airsoft. Guns and gear is a whole Pandora's box of questions in itself. And maybe in a separate video, we'll cover a few of the questions you might have. And you can ask as many questions as you like down below for the second part of this mini-series that I'm planning to put together. So let's go over 5 quick tips and rules for Airsoft beginners, which is brought to you by Airsoft GI that makes so many of my videos come together, either when it comes to reviews, gameplays, event coverage, and more. And I want to thank G&G Armament, who always have new and interesting products pouring into the market, like this 308 MBR SPR that I'm writing a review for right now. Links to their websites will be listed down below in the description, like they should be. Alright, so let's start right away with something that could ultimately put an end to your Airsoft journey if you're unlucky enough to live in a certain area. My first tip is to check your local laws regarding Airsoft. When it comes to the United States, most of the states and cities have about the same laws regarding Airsoft replicas, which are pretty loose. All replicas must be sold with at least a 1/4-inch blaze orange tip, and I believe every state requires that you be 18 years of age to purchase an Airsoft gun. But not all of the states follow these loose restrictions, and outside the United States, things can be drastically different. Some guns might come with a blaze orange tip, some countries require that you have a license, and Airsoft might just be banned altogether like how it is in Australia, and in some places in South America. Some places in the world even require that your replica be entirely bright colored. But I'm not a scholar of global Airsoft laws, so this is where you'll want to do a little research for yourself. There's a lot of ways to figure out what your city, state, province, or country thinks about Airsoft legally. The easiest way, however, would be to simply contact the local field and just ask them yourselves, or call up a store that deals in Airsoft sales. If anyone is going to know anything about Airsoft laws in your area, it'll be them. After all, they need to work inside those laws. And as a bonus tip for this section, please never take your Airsoft guns out into public. There's so many terribly sad stories of parents losing their children as a result of confused police believing Airsoft replicas to be real firearms. You should always keep your Airsoft replicas concealed in a bag, a box, or in a case when transporting them to either your car or to a store that deals with Airsoft, if you ever need to do so. This will save you from getting hurt, and it'll save you from going to jail for something so stupid. Just never brandish an Airsoft gun in public. Next up though is a big tip, but a really important one. Some people just jump right into the game after watching a few videos on YouTube, and some people research the places they plan to play at. And that's exactly what I recommend that you do as a soon-to-be Airsofter. Just visiting the fields or the arenas around your area can teach you a lot about your local community, Airsoft manners, basic rules, and a little sub tip that I'll give you while you research these places is to consider renting gear from those fields and arenas. Why would I recommend this? Well, if you outright buy maybe $200 worth of gear and not like the game for whatever reason, well, you'll be stuck with that gear unless you either sell it all off or give it away, which will waste that $200 that you invested, when you could have just spent $20 to $50 to rent out some eye protection and a gun for a day to see what the game is really like. Renting gear and researching the places that you can play at will give you a lot to work on. This will give you an idea of what eye protection to get, what kind of gun that you should look into, how people play at those fields and arenas. Just study everything that you can. It'll really help you out in the long run. And that includes your wallet when you decide to make the next step. Most fields have rental fleets of easy-to-use Airsoft guns, and the staff at those fields should be happy to help you get familiar with some of the basics to handling those replicas in a safe and responsible manner. These next 3 should be obvious, but after seeing how these 3 things are totally ignored by newer players and how the lack of attention leads to all sorts of issues that ruin games, I'm just going to tell you what you should do so you don't become the most hated person of the day. That begins by paying attention at the safety briefing. This is such an important tip that a lot of people need to utilize, but despite traveling to so many Airsoft fields and arenas around the United States and going through safety briefings at all of those places, there's still people asking about what game modes they're playing, asking about what team they're on, asking about what they can and cannot go around or do on the field, and every question you ask because you weren't paying attention slows the game down. Questions that you wouldn't have if you just paid attention. Of course, ask as many questions if you got them, but when you're attending a new place to play the game, go to the safety briefing and listen to everything the referee or the staff tell you. This will save you from looking like an idiot in front of everyone and help you understand the rules of the field. And remember that the word of the admins at the fields and events that you might attend in the future is law there. Whatever they say in regards to rules and safety precautions is the way it should go. And if you're a more well-acquainted player to the field and you already know what you're doing, well then why not help some of the newer players? After all, the game of Airsoft would be dead in the water pretty quickly if no newer players enjoyed the game enough to come back for another game. And one of the things that the refs will tell you for sure is my number 2 tip. Once you enter the arena, once you walk onto the field, keep your eye protection on. So many first-time players, young and old, seem to forget that these 6mm plastic BBs can severely mess up your vision or even blind you if you were unfortunate enough to take one to an eye. Once the game ends, there's always a person or two who flips their goggles up or takes their mask off completely, thinking that it's safe. This happens while people still have magazines in their guns, people are still shooting at things or clearing their guns out. So keep your eye protection on. There's almost no good reason to take the only things protecting your eyes off in a game of flying plastic. But for any reason, if you lose your eye pro, fields will tell you to call something similar to a blind man. This is when you shout "blind man" as you keep your eyes shut. Your team members will then shout out "blind man" as well until everyone knows to cease fire and wait for the admins to sort out the situation. This can also be called out if someone is hurt on the field, but it's best to only call "blind man" when you're sure you or someone near you needs serious help. Besides that, just keep your eye protection on until you get back to your stuff up front or when an admin says it's safe to remove them. That way your eyes won't be in any danger if you're using proper eye protection. Next up, before I tell you the number 1 rule or tip, I'd recommend wherever you play and wherever you shop, ask as many questions as you like. You had questions before you watched this video, and I'm sure you'll have questions afterwards, so ask them either in the comments or when you go to a field or to an arena. Most airsofters don't mind helping new players out or recommending tactics, gear, or giving other tips that I didn't mention here. Whenever I go anywhere, I try helping newer players get a better idea on how to improve themselves on the field, and I'd like to see everyone else do the same. New players is what Airsoft needs, so help these players out, and if you're one of those newer players, then ask all the questions you have so you're not clueless when the game begins for you. So now you know some of the basics that I recommend to everyone looking to get into the game of Airsoft. Your eye protection, the safety briefing, making sure that you can even play Airsoft in your area, all these things are really important to the game. However, what would this game even become if no one called their hits? Let me tell you about something. Some airsofters don't like playing against newer players because they think they'll never call their hits and just run away when a BB bounces off of them. That can ruin so many games, and it makes a lot of people so upset that they'll even quit the game entirely or never return to a field when people don't call their hits. Some people will even make sure to ramp up how hard their guns can hit or how fast they can fire to bring some pain to anyone who doesn't want to call their hits. I'm sure you're not looking to ruin other people's day, and you probably don't want to go up against anyone that won't call their hits either. And I'm also sure you've seen the hundreds of Airsoft cheater videos that are out there. There's entire channels based on those videos, and I'm sure that you don't want to star in one of them. So why would you be the one ruining everything by cheating? Most problems in Airsoft are started because of hit calling, and you don't need to be the person starting those problems. Some BBs will hit you so softly that you'll begin to question if you were even hit in the first place or if something fell from a tree. Some BBs will also hit you pretty hard, or they might hit your gear, making a pretty loud slap. Call all of these hits. People will appreciate you more as a sportsman. You'll keep the game going, and you'll know that if someone is complaining about hit calling, that it won't be because of you. But don't go yelling at other people to call their hits. That leads to some of the arguments that I was mentioning earlier. Airsoft can be one of the best hobbies you'll ever find. Just be sure to do the hobby a favor and always call your hits. I hope you enjoyed this little top 5, and I hope that you'll check out the next one. I'll be doing more of these tips and rule videos in the future, as long as I keep getting questions on Instagram, Facebook, or on here, so keep commenting or messaging me. And never mind answering questions when I've got some spare time. Oh, and let me know if this video helped you get into the game of Airsoft, if you haven't joined in already. And if you've got a second, then go follow me on Instagram, or just subscribe to my channel for more Airsoft videos. But until that next video drops from the city of San Antonio, this has been Scott Hollenbeck, and I will be sure to see you all next time.